What's up everybody, this is Aaron, and in today's video I'll be giving you a quick recap on today's Apple event, so stick around. Welcome back, and today was a huge day for Apple as today they marked the 10th anniversary of the release of the first edition iPhone in 2007. So we pretty much knew that leading up to the media event that this was going to be an extremely important day for Apple and that they were going to do everything they could to make it an important and rememberable event. And I would have to say that they did exactly that. Now leading up to the event there was numerous leaks, possibly even by an Apple employee themselves, about some of the firmware and some of the actual hardware and products that were going to be announced at their 10th anniversary keynote. So with those things being said, let's go ahead and begin the Apple Media event recap. So the Apple event kicks off exactly at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Apple started off with exactly what I wanted, and that was a proper tribute to Steve Jobs, seeing as they are in the new Apple Theater, which is also called Apple Park and has been dedicated to Steve Jobs. After the opening tribute, an extremely emotional Tim Cook took the stage. Then Tim Cook closed the tribute by saying, "Today and always we honor him," of course referring to his mentor Steve Jobs himself. Again, the beginning of the event was extremely emotional, knowing that Steve Jobs actually worked on the architectural plans of Apple Park and the Steve Jobs Theater, and he would definitely have been happy to see Apple's success since he passed away. With those things being said, I'd like to personally say thank you to Steve Jobs for creating the bar and making us so high on the industry and technology advancements in general. We miss you, boss. Rest in peace. After the tribute was over, Tim began talking about the victims of Hurricanes Harvey and Irma and exactly how you can contribute and donate to the Victims Relief Fund. He then briefly spoke on the architecture of the new Steve Jobs Theater in Apple Park. It is 175 acres, it has 9,000 trees, 100% renewable energy, and it's one of the largest solar installations worldwide. Apple then announced something called Today at Apple, which allows you to get more familiar with their Apple products. Then Apple jumped straight into Apple Watch news. They stated that their sales have grown over 50% in the last quarter, and now that Apple Watch is the #1 in terms of sales in the world, which surprisingly means that they've outsold Rolex. Apple then announced that one of the new big features coming in the new Watch OS software is going to be for the Apple Watch to detect an elevated heart rate, which led to the announcement of Apple Heart Study, which will help to alert you of the possibility of a stroke and or even a heart attack. And I personally think it's excellent to see Apple focusing on health with the Apple Watch. Next, Apple officially announces the Apple Watch Series 3 with LTE. And also the fact that the Apple Watch will be able to stream Apple Music on your wrist. Now something interesting is that the display itself is the antenna on the Apple Watch Series 3, and it has an electronic SIM. And also the back of the watch has been extended 0.25 millimeters. The new Apple Watch Series 3 comes in a new gold aluminum finish and a gray ceramic color with a new sport loop band and new Nike Plus colors as well. Apple Watch Series 3 will be available to pre-order on September 15th and ship September 22nd. Next up was the Apple TV, and Apple stated that they received their second Emmy Award for the Apple TV. The new Apple TV has a UI redesigned in 4K, and Apple also announced that it will support HDR video, along with live sports streaming. At the heart of the Apple TV is the A10X Fusion chip, which is the same that's in the iPad Pro. Now Apple says that anyone who bought an HD movie on iTunes will be upgraded to 4K HDR at no charge. In terms of pricing and storage, the standard Apple TV in a 32GB configuration will cost $149, whereas the new Apple TV in 4K will come with 32GB as well as a 64GB option coming in at $179 and $199. And the release date is September 22nd. And next up was the iPhone. Now, Tim began going over the history of the iPhone and innovations over the last 10 years. Then he played a short video announcing that the names of the new iPhones is the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus, with a new 6-core CPU and a new Apple-based chip called the A11 Bionic. The iPhone 8 and 8 Plus also get a True Tone display, an updated 12-megapixel camera, and we also see an updated f1.8 and f2.8 aperture on both devices, along with a new gold color option. We're also going to see new updated stereo speakers as well as a new feature called portrait mode lighting. This in return is going to simulate professional photography in real time. The iPhone 8 is also going to shoot 4K at 60 frames per second and 1080p at 240 frames per second slow motion. And since all three new iPhones announced today, the iPhone 8, iPhone 8 Plus, and the iPhone 10, will have all new glass back designs, they will be wireless charging capable, which will be of the Qi standard, which Apple recommends a wireless charger from Belkin or Mophie. And they've also been working on their own design, which we'll talk more about here in a minute. Then Apple quickly shifted focus to augmented reality, which they state has a great motion tracking sensor as well as an excellent ISP. Apple also stated that the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus are the first smartphones to have truly custom calibrated AR features. It will also feature the latest Bluetooth technology, Bluetooth 5.0. Apple then announced that the iPhone 8 will come in 64GB and 256GB options for $699. And the iPhone 8 Plus will also come in 64 and 256GB options and will start at $799. Now, September 15th is when pre-orders start for those two devices. Continuing on the focus of augmented reality, Apple announced a new awesome-looking game called The Machines. This is an exclusive competitive augmented reality game for the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus. Then appropriately, Apple shocked us with the notorious One More Thing, which led to the reveal of Apple's 10th anniversary edition phone, the Apple iPhone 10. Now, although the new iPhone is written down on paper as iPhone X, it's pronounced iPhone 10. The iPhone 10 features the first OLED Super Retina display at 5.8 inches and has a PPI count of 458. Apple then quickly announced that there's two new features on the iPhone 10. One is that, of course, there is no home button, so now that's replaced with a swipe up gesture, and that there's a new tap to wake feature for the display. Apple then stated that they have top-of-the-line biometrics for the new Face ID feature, which is more secure than your fingerprint and Touch ID, and Apple says that you have a 1 in a million chance to beat the Face ID recognition software. Apple said that they even went as far as to create realistic masks to try and combat Face ID hackers. So the new iPhone 10 has a new edge-to-edge display with a stainless steel and glass design. The display is an OLED display with a resolution of 2436 by 1125. Inside the new iPhone 10, of course, is Face ID with the awesome facial recognition software and features Apple's new Neural Engine and the A11 Bionic CPU. The device also has a true depth camera system that's used to replace Touch ID. Apple also announced that Face ID will work with Apple Pay and selected applications. And then Apple announced something new called Animojis, which is the ability to animate emojis using your facial expressions. The software tracks 50 facial muscle movements and looks pretty awesome. Next, Craig Federighi, aka Hair Force 1, came out to show what the iPhone 10 can do. So the first feature that Craig was set to introduce was Face ID, which turned out to be an epic fail. However, I think there's a bigger picture here. Now, when Craig went to unlock the device failed to unlock 2 times in a row. Now, several different reasons have surfaced as to why Face ID failed. One is that the phone had been booted without being first unlocked by passcode, which makes sense as that is the way Apple devices have worked for years. Some people were saying that it was a complete fail and that Face ID wasn't even set up on the device. And something else to keep in mind is that when an iPhone restarts, it mentions the restart as the reason for extra authentication. So in all likelihood, what we saw was that when you restart your phone, you have to enter the passcode to activate Touch ID, which is the same for Face ID. And instead of going through the setup process of Face ID there on stage, he just simply switched phones to the iPhone 10 next to him, which by the way worked flawlessly and unlocked via Face ID 3 times in a row. And Apple also stated that they've been working with Snapchat to improve facial recognition within their app. Then Apple announced that they're working on their own new wireless charging mat called AirPower. The wireless charging mat charges your iPhone, your Apple Watch, and AirPods all at once. The pre-orders for the iPhone 10 start October 27th, and the device ships November 3rd. The iPhone 10 will be available in 2 different color options, space gray or silver, and will be available in 64 or 256GB storage options. Here's Apple's complete fall lineup, and the iPhone 10 will cost $999 for the entry-level 64GB model, and will cost $1,149 for the 256GB option. Now there's a couple of things that didn't get announced that I was pretty shocked and a little bit disappointed about. One is there's no 120Hz ProMotion display. Also, something else that was pretty interesting is that there's only 2 color options for the iPhone 10, space gray and silver, and also that there is no white front option, so both the silver and space gray options are both going to have black fronts. So a quick event recap, today wasn't just the release of 3 different iPhones, but also Apple celebrating their 10th anniversary since they released the first iPhone in 2007. Apple announced the iPhone 8, iPhone 8 Plus, and the iPhone 10 with a new all-glass design, wireless charging, edge-to-edge screen, no home button, Face ID, a faster processor, and an Apple A11 Bionic chip. We're also set to see 4K video recording at 60 frames per second. We also seen a small update to Apple's AirPods lineup with a new gray and blush gold color, and also a new wireless charging case. A new 4K Apple TV with HDR streaming, a faster processor, and improved live sports TV integration. And also don't forget about the 2 products coming out later this year, both the HomePod and the iMac Pro. Let me know down in the comment section below what specific announcement you're most excited for, and also let me know if you're going to pick up the iPhone 8, 8 Plus, or the iPhone 10, and also let me know what color. If you made it this far in the video, be sure to hit that like button, I truly appreciate it, and also be sure to hit that subscribe button to be notified of future content. I'll be giving away an iPhone 10 here on the channel, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss that video. I cover all things technology related, specializing in both Apple and Android devices, so if you're new here, consider subscribing.